and health disparities. My name is Haile Taddese, and just to give you an introduction about my educational background, it's in GIS, remote sensing, environmental science. So today I'm going to present the Mid-Atlantic Edge Screen workshop. So this tool is going to include the Mid-Atlantic region, including the 6 states in the eastern United States. So the objective of this tool is to focus on environmental justice issues in the region and identifying disadvantaged communities at local, state, and regional level. Allows users to explore layers of environmental justice concern, determine the overall EGS score for census tracts in the region. The tool also helps to compare, analyze the EGS scores and domain scores within the Mid-Atlantic states and county level statistics. The tool also helps illustrate differential burden of climate hazards within the region and across populations. So we collected different types of data from different sources. So just to mention some of them. So we have 6 domains and we have 65 indicators included in this tool. So we used EPA EDGE Screen, CDC, the SIGE, climate change indicator is collected from FEMA. We also collected health indicators from CDC Places dataset. We also collected data from NASA, from EPA greenhouse gas emission datasets, USDA Forest Service, and tree cover. So just to summarize, what indicators, how many domains we use to develop this tool. We used 17 climate, environmental exposure 9, environmental effects 13, health 10, and socioeconomic factors 16. So first we try to see the climate change, environmental exposure, environmental effects, and we try to combine that to bring the pollution burden at a census level. Then at the same time, we also try to bring health and the socioeconomic factors, and we have the population characteristics together. Then finally, we produce the composite EDGE score at census tract level. So the methodology is similar to Maryland EDGE Screen, California environmental screen. So the raw indicator scores for all indicators are converted from 0 to 100 based on whatever data or raw data they have. So those values are averaged to create 2 scores, population characteristics and the pollution burden scores. So as you can see in all these PowerPoint presentations, you will see percentile score. So just to give you a brief, a percentile is a term that describes how a score compares to other scores from the same set. So if I am try to analyze carbon dioxide concentrations throughout the region, I just converted this from 0 to 100. So every data or any indicator is converted from 0 to 100. That means in educational or in school, if you score 100, that's very best. That's the desired score you want to score. But here in our case, scoring high or 100 means you are disadvantaged area or census tract in our case. So what are the health indicators included in this tool? We include asthma, we include cancer, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, poor mental health, depression, high cholesterol, stroke, and COVID data. From the climate, we use avalanche, flooding, cold wave, drought, earthquake, hail, heat wave, hurricane, landslide, strong wind, tornado, volcanic activity data, wildfire, winter, and expected annual loss. From socioeconomic, we include people of color or minority, low income, less than high school education, limited English speaking, individuals over 64, unemployment, housing burden, age 17 and younger, civilians with disability, group quarters, housing tenure, broadband access, health insurance, lack of indoor plumbing, and mobile homes. The environmental exposures data are air toxic cancer, air toxic respiratory hazard, diesel particulate matter PM 2.5, ozone traffic proximity, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and methane emissions are included in this tool. So the effects we used lead paint, proximity to risk management plan, proximity to treatment storage, proximity to national priority MPL sites, wastewater discharge, impaired water bodies, hazardous waste proximity, superfund, toxic release inventory, underground storage, coal, lead mines, lack of green cover. So just to summarize, just you can have these questions in your mind. How many domains and indicators included in the Mid-Atlantic EGS screen? Another question is, please list the greenhouse gases included in this tool. Another question is, can we obtain a cumulative EGS score from US EPA EGS screen? So you can have these questions and we can discuss after my presentation. So how it look like the Mid-Atlantic EGS score screening tool? So we have the overall EGI, we have also climate, we have health, environmental effects, environmental exposure, demographic, and it will also give you a report. So I will show you after I finish my PowerPoint for easiness. So as I showed you, this is going to give you a report. So when you click the report, so it takes you to the website, and you can search whatever address, whatever area to find the report. So this is a Baltimore, just Google Baltimore, and you will see those statistics. When you zoom in and zoom out, it gives you the specific data for your census tract. So if you zoom out, it gives you the neighboring in the viewing screening screen. So as you can see in this, I have 3 census tracts. So one of them has high, which is 0. Almost close to 1. This is Philadelphia. So similar to that. So when you go to Philadelphia and search, it gives you this, and it shows you which census tract in your area has the highest overall EGS screen, climate, health, environmental effects, and socioeconomic domains. So it gives you all the data you need. This is Washington, D.C. So it also gives you similar results. So the good thing is you can select your neighborhood. It depends on your preference. You zoom out, zoom in, and if you want just specific your census tract or your specific address, you will find only the specific score for your census or for your address. But when you zoom out, you will see the surrounding census tracts also. Alexandria, similar results. So as you can see here, I have 3 census tracts in this neighborhood. So, but one of them has close to 0.9, but the other is very low, which is 0.35. And you can see what's happening in my census tract compared to the next census tract. So it gives you an easy comparison for your area. This is Dover, Delaware. Similar, so you can see I have 6 census tracts. So you will see which one has the highest score, which one has the lowest score, depending on the viewing in the map. This is West Virginia. West Virginia, I have, for example, 4 census tracts. So 3 of them has more or less the same overall EGI, but one is very low. So just to show you the map, this is the overall composite environmental EGS screen. So 0 means very good area, 100 means or 1 means bad. So as you can see, many areas in the Mid-Atlantic region has red, which is greater than 0.5 score in this map. Okay, which area or which census tract in the region is highly affected? So just I select, based on the score, the top 25 census tracts in the region. So as you can see, out of the 25 top highly affected by environmental injustice, Baltimore City has 8 census tracts highly affected, followed by Berks and Delaware County in Pennsylvania have 3 census tracts. Coble County in West Virginia and Richmond City in Virginia has 2 census tracts highly affected. Even you can see also what about the top 10? And even out of the top 10, it's Baltimore City and also one Berks County in Pennsylvania is a highly affected census tract in this region. So what about if I try to see out of my 100 scores greater than 75, how many census tracts in each state score greater than 75 percentile? So as you can see, Delaware has 71, District of Columbia has 68, Maryland has 337, Pennsylvania has 982, Virginia had 363, West Virginia had 253. So, okay, in terms of number, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland have the highest number of census tracts with the scores above the 75 percentile. Oh, what about if I see the percentile from the total census tracts in each state? So when I see that, the West Virginia state comes the highest percentile out of the whole 546 census tracts in West Virginia. 46 percentile is classified greater than 75 overall age score. This means it's highly affected. Just followed by District of Columbia is 33, and also Pennsylvania 28, Maryland 22, and Delaware 27. Oh, what about if I just see only the 10 percentile, the top 10 percentile or percent from each state? So as you can see, the highest is still Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia. But in terms of the percent, Washington, D.C. is the highest percentage of census tracts above the 90 percentile. So Washington, D.C. is also highly affected, followed by West Virginia. So what about if I see the exposure map only? What about using those indicators to calculate the environmental exposure, or how it looks like? So as you can see, it shows the major cities in the Mid-Atlantic region, which is close to 95, and also some areas in the western part. I think it's Pittsburgh areas are affected by environmental exposure. What about the environmental effect? So this also helps you. Most of the major highways and major cities are also affected by environmental effects. Okay, I also try to compare, okay, I have environmental exposure, I have environmental effects. So which state has the highest number of affected census tracts with score greater than 75? As you can see in Delaware, if I see the exposure, I have 43 census tracts in exposure. In effects, I have 76. In District of Columbia, 205, almost all in exposure. This means it's only one census tract, which is not less than 75. In effects, it's 117. Maryland, 572 in exposure and 359 in effects. Pennsylvania, 1,075, and in effects, 1,264. Virginia, 226, and 161 in effects. West Virginia, in exposure, they have only 13, but in effects, they have 96. What about the climate? Still, the climate is overall, there are some areas between 0 to 20, but it's a highly affected region. Health is more or less similar, except some areas around the DC metro areas. Socioeconomic map also shows us there are some in the Maryland, Virginia, Northern Virginia areas are yellowish, but most of the area is red. And I also try to see what about if I see from the climate, health, and socioeconomic domains, how many are scoring greater than 75 percentile? In Delaware, 54, 19, and 72. District of Columbia, 6, 14, 58. Maryland, 231 to 135, and 371. So this shows us, for example, in Maryland, the socioeconomic factor is highly affected compared to the health and climate. Pennsylvania, similar 906, and Virginia, 507 and in climate, and socioeconomic 520. This is just to show what about individual states. Can I see the variability within the state? So as you can see, Washington, D.C., Southeast, Northeast area is highly affected with scores greater than 50 percentile. In Delaware, more or less Southeast areas and the middle is highly affected, and the northern part of the state is also, I think that's a major metropolitan area also is highly affected. So what are the top 10 worst affected census tracts in Delaware and Washington, D.C.? As you can see, I try to see the top 10 in Washington, the top 10 in Delaware, and you can see the statistics also. So for example, in Delaware, census tract 00290 is the highest score. In Washington, D.C., it is 007401 is the highly affected census tract in Washington, D.C. So you can see for each state and as a region, at the regional level, at the state level, you can see which one is highly affected in each state. What about Maryland? Okay, Maryland is also showing us the overall EGS score. The Baltimore area bordering Washington, D.C., southeast area, and some parts of the western part of Maryland is highly affected by environmental injustice. Okay, what about the top 10 worst affected census tracts in Maryland? Okay, I have one which is 011103, 0500, 0301, 0605 are the highest affected census tracts in Maryland. What about if I see the county statistics? So the county is an average. For example, if County A has 20 census tracts, I average the value for the county. So when I do that, Baltimore City becomes the highest with 0.8 AGI, Caroline 0.73, Dorchester 0.68, Somerset 0.65, Kent 0.64, Washington 0.64, and Allegheny 0.63. This is a Pennsylvania map. As you can see, the major cities and some parts in the middle and northern and western part of the state also affected by environmental injustice. So what are the top 10 worst affected census tracts in Pennsylvania? For example, here 002500, 00100, 00200 census tract is highly affected by environmental injustice. What about in terms of county? So I just average similar to Maryland. So when I calculate, Philadelphia County becomes 0.74, Montour 0.74, Lebanon 0.73, Lehigh 0.69, Fayette 0.68, Mifflin 0.67, and Dauphin 0.67. This is Virginia Composite Environmental Justice Map. So as you can see, there are many census tracts affected by environmental justice, including the major cities. Similar, the top 7 worst affected census tracts are, as you can see, 0700, 0100, 0400. So in each state, there are, you can classify or you can see the top worst affected census tracts in each state. So when I see the county overall statistics, Norton City becomes the highest, Henry, followed by Martinsville City, Pittsburgh City, Waynesboro City, Emporia, and Dickinson counties have the highest overall EGI score. West Virginia, similar to this, as you can see, overall the state becomes red. So there are very few with 0 to 20 percentile in the state. So as you can see, the top 7 worst affected are 00900, 01500, 00200. Census tracts are highly affected. The counties, Wayne County scored 0.9, Mingo 0.89, McDowell 0.846, Bonnie 0.41, Mercer 0.83, Pleasant 0.81, and Wyoming 0.8. So the summary is, as you can see, West Virginia has the highest percentage of census tracts with scores above the 75 percentile, followed by Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C. D.C. has the highest percentage of census tracts with scores above the 90 percentile, followed by West Virginia and Pennsylvania. Overall, the metropolitan D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia has the highest scores in the region. So I have also some questions. What are the major environmental challenges in Baltimore City, Philadelphia? What do you think the most dominant factors among the environmental indicators in your local area? List 3 environmental exposures and 3 environmental effects indicators. List 3 climate change indicators which affect environmental change in your local area. What can you do with the Mid-Atlantic EJ screen? So maybe if you have questions, I will stop here before I go to the website to show you. And also we can also answer some of the previous questions. Okay.
Can you go back to the screen that was showing some of the elements that were used to create the scores? And just maybe you could speak a little bit more generally about, I see in the, oh, thank you. If you could go back to the screen that.
Which one did you say?
The screen that was like listing all the different elements that were used to create. Yeah. What was the first, like health? Yeah. Health. And And then what was the climate, socioeconomic? Do you have in there, I work in the field of transportation planning.
Uh-huh.
No problem. I work in transportation planning, so I was curious to see if any of the indicators that you used had to do with like access to bicycle and pedestrian facilities or access to parks or things like that. And regardless, like how were these particular ones selected? How were others chosen not to be included?
Yeah. So initially we have done national level AGS scores for the whole 48 states first. So we selected based on the data availability for all states, and which one are mostly impacting overall environmental AGS score. So after we finalize that, we also try to see what can we do with this available data to the region. So, when you do national level, you compare every census tract to national level. So this one is comparing only to those 6 states. So the first, when we select, is based on data availability. So we didn't include park or pedestrian in this one, but in the future, that's one plan we have, because we have also the Maryland AGS screen. We included that in the calculations. So we are going to collect the regional data on transportation, and we will include in one of those domains and in the final calculations in the coming maybe semester or next year. But right now, we try to see, first we analyze the national level. So we finalize that, and after we finalize that, okay, why we have this data already, so why we don't use as a regional and see the regional statistics. So that's the initial calculations and selections for those criteria.
What's your target user for the map?
Well, we are working with many different environmental justice communities in the region. So we have different hubs like Maryland, DC, Virginia, and New Jersey we have also, but New Jersey is not included in this mapping because we try to see we use EPA regional classifications to do the regional analysis. So that's why we didn't include New Jersey. So we have partners, community. So those community work, okay, my neighborhood is affected by environmental pollution like P2.5 or nitrogen or lack of green cover or something. So, for example, we included lack of green cover in this calculation also.
How do you define what is green cover?
So we use USDA Landsat data. So they use 30 by 30 meters pixel calculation. So they have this data. So we use this data and convert it as to the census level data. Any other questions? So the first question is related to how many domains, how many indicators we use. We classify the whole 65 indicators to 5 domains. So instead of doing like individual, so we try to see by domain. So we have health, climate, environmental effect, environmental exposure, and the health. So we have 5 classifications. And the second question is, what are the greenhouse gases included in our, so we included nitrogen dioxide, we included carbon dioxide, methane, and also ozone, but ozone is, it's beyond the surface, so we don't. So can we obtain a cumulative EJ score from US EJ score? So one major limitation for the US EPA EJ screen is lack of cumulative score. EPA doesn't give you a cumulative result for your census tracts. So it may give you, oh, by the way, the health indicator score is this, the climate indicator is this, but doesn't give you the cumulative. So that's one major problem with EPA. I mean, they have their own issues because some people may use the score as for something, so in their government. So we, in this Maryland EJ screen, we try to combine, because Maryland, California also included this cumulative way of calculations. So we try to use that methodology and apply also for this regional level. So this Middle Atlantic region can give you also the best overall score for your census tracts. So maybe I will go to the map and show you. Hopefully we will. Okay. So this is under development. It's not finalized. We are still working on it. So, but we can do something. I mean, I have this overall EJ. So if, for example, let's say, which state do you live?
I'm in Maryland.
Oh, okay. So let's say Silver Spring. So we can just go to Silver Spring and see whatever statistics. So this is a downtown, I think, Silver Spring, but you can zoom in and zoom out to see the area. And as you click and see, you will see the statistics. So the state is Maryland. The county is 0.31. The GeoID, which is a census tract, is given. And at the same time, it also gives you the domain scores for that census tract. So for example, here, the environmental exposure actually in this census tract is 100. It's 1. So it's very bad for this census tract compared to the whole region. Environmental effect is 0.6. Socioeconomic 0.6. Climate 0.6. The health is 0.1. This means it's good. There is health indicators are very good. So the overall is 0.6 because we have health 0.1 because we are trying to combine all those domains together. What about you? Where do you live?
Fairfax, Virginia.
Oh, I live there. Fairfax. Okay, let's see. So this is Fairfax, Virginia. So as you can see, this census tract, the county 600, the census tract number is, so environmental exposure 0.8, effect 0.4, socioeconomic 0.6, climate 0.8, health 0.1, overall 0.5. This is the overall in terms of domain. Now we are going to go to individual also. For example, let's go now, maybe Baltimore. So this is Baltimore. So as you can see, it is environmental exposure just 1, environmental effect 0.8, socioeconomic 0.9, climate 0.5, health 0.9, and overall EJ just 1. It's very high. Now we are going to go to individuals. So if you want to go see, okay, what about the climate? Which indicator is affecting my area? So you are in the same area. So you can just click and see the indicators in the climate. So climate, it has cold wave, drought, earthquake, hail, heat wave, hurricane, landslide, flooding, wind, tornado, wildfire. So you will see a score for each indicators when you go to each domain. Let's go to health. So let's say this red one. So you can see blood pressure 0.8, cancer 0.9, asthma 0.4, health disease 0.8, COVID 0.8, diabetic 0.7, cholesterol 1, mental health 0.3, and overall 0.8. So it gives you, it also gives you, you can also Google specific address. Let's say, for example, let's Google 1400 T Street, Northeast, Washington, D.C. Okay, so Washington, D.C., this census tract. So this is giving you only the census tract for your address, because we didn't say Baltimore, we didn't say Washington, D.C., we didn't say Fairfax. So we say, give me a result for this specific address. So it gives you the specific address, all this. So when you zoom into this, all the domains zoom into that area. So easily you can go climate, it's going to zoom to that area. Health, still red. Environmental effects, oh, it's relatively fine. Exposure, still bad. Demography, very bad. So when you click, you'll see all the statistics for the demographic also. All the statistics. So the tool helps us to gain enough information about your area, but it's not about the statistics, by the way. You need the statistics to bring a solution to your area. So what do you do with your area? Okay, let's have these results, or you may print out. Okay, let's go to the report. I'm going to click the report. So this report is going to give me the statistics and graphs, but it doesn't give you the map here. So when you go here, so it's going to give me the climate statistics, the health statistics, composite statistics. So when I zoom in and zoom out to this, it shows you all the statistics in graph. So you are wherever zooming in, you will have this. But similar, you can also search here and find the specific address, 1400 maybe S Street. Let's say, okay, Northwest. So this viewing, it has 4 census tracts, the surrounding census tracts. So if you want to see the specific census tract for that area, you zoom in. So you are going to have only one. So after you have one, you can click the statistics number, and you can see here you have 0.8, you have 0.3. This is health is socioeconomic is close to 0. Effect is 0.7. So it gives you all the statistics for the given address. So let's say find Philadelphia. So it's going to zoom to all those surroundings and gives you the whole result but you may not need the whole. So you go to zoom in to that specific area and you will have the results. So as you can see, the overall EGI is 0.75 and for that specific area. The climate is 0.29, effect is close to 1, and health is close to 0.13. The socioeconomic is greater than 8. Any questions?
I have a quick, and it's mainly on the mapping. Is there a way, once you get your results, to have like major highways on top of or a way to kind of make um, the data a little bit more transparent to see the layer below it,
Yes.
especially when looking at it on a regional level?
Yeah, by the way, you can also change the base map and but because we have to do this transparent to see these rates. So hopefully we will work on that, and it may take time to load. But we can also add like the major roads or schools or whatever data in the site. So when you want to add it, you can add it. That's also possible. So as I said, this is just starting. So hopefully we will finalize it soon, and we will make it public. Right now it's not public. We are still, actually the reason we presenting is just to get some inputs, to develop it further and improve it. So you can also send us email your, I don't know, your idea, how to improve the mapping, or if there is any, let's say, as you say, we didn't include about the trails or parks. We didn't include it in this one, but we are planning to do that. So any input we need, I think I have it in my PowerPoint. So we have it here, so you can have this information, and you can send us email, and we like to have any inputs wherever. Yeah, my pleasure.
I have noticed with the tools, other places that, like as you were suggesting, if you can't see what's underneath it, and like the tools usually like you have to put in a specific address, but oftentimes you want to see it something, compared to other areas. But if it's not labeled and it's covered, you can't see those other areas. So if you're comparing two counties, or one from one side of an interstate to the other side, but you can't see the interstate or a river or something like that. So it does help to have some of those quote unquote landmarks to be able to roll back from it.
Yeah, we will work on that, and hopefully we'll make it public very soon. But as I said, we are still in early stage of developing this tool. We have the Maryland EJ screen. I think we started from 1.0, 2.03. We finalized the 3.0 right now. Now it's in the final stage. Actually, it is because of the server. I think it's not working right now, but it's now public. So we have the updated version of Maryland EJ screen, but we will work on this, and we will add a lot of information, a lot of inputs, and we are going to rework on the statistics also, because if you add one indicator to the domain, you have to also recalculate the results. So we have to work on that. So we will improve further, and we will be happy to get any inputs by email, call, whatever. Mm-hmm. And actually, one of the questions was, what can you do with the Mid-Atlantic Edge screen? So the reason we are doing this is to influence, first of all, the community. The community will learn about their area. After they learn their area, about their situation, if I know what's happening in my neighborhood, I'm going to ask myself what I'm doing. So after I ask myself, I may go to the local representative, maybe mayor or senator or congressman, then I will ask and discuss. But when you go there and say, oh, I have a problem with my area, he may say, what's the problem? You may say it, I have problem with asthma. Where is your data? So this helps you, to show your local representative, show them with a result. Then you influence the decision making at local, regional, state level. That's the major use of this tool. But we are not saying by having, let's say, okay, your area is 0.8, we are not saying, oh, you will be, dead tomorrow or something. So we are not saying, this is a tool, assessment tool. It gives you an assessment, but it's not by itself a solution. So it gives you a clue what's happening in your neighborhood, then you will go further for further solutions and identifying further the problems. That's the objective, Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
This is great.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Huh?
And when did you
Yeah.
say that it was, oh, sorry, when did you say that it was gonna be available?
Probably end of, I don't know, maybe end of the semester or next